Apple added Apple Intelligence features across many of its apps and also added new features for messages, mail, photos, Safari, and more. Messages. Scheduling. You can schedule an iMessage to be sent at a later date and time, with Apple permitting texts to be scheduled up to 14 days in advance. Scheduled messages can be set up by tapping the plus sign next to the text field, choosing the More option, and selecting Send Later. After you've scheduled an iMessage, you can tap it to edit it, delete it, or reschedule it. Tapbacks. Apple redesigned the default tapback response options to make them more colorful than before, plus there is support for using any emoji or sticker to respond to a message. Long press on a message and tap on the emoji icon to select any emoji or sticker, and this feature also works with custom Genmoji you've created. Messages via satellite. In iOS 18, you can send and receive iMessages and SMS text messages using satellite when you don't have a Wi-Fi or cellular connection. Apple previously introduced an emergency SOS via satellite option for texting in emergencies, but the new option lets you text anyone, even when there's not an emergency. iOS 18 messages via satellite. Messages via satellite works with emoji, tapbacks, and all messages features, plus end-to-end encryption for iMessages. Messages via satellite works on the iPhone 14 and newer, and it is initially limited to the United States. RCS support. Apple plans to transition from SMS and MMS to a new messaging protocol, RCS or Rich Communication Services. RCS is designed for text messages between iPhone and Android users, or when iMessage is not available, with iMessage still the default for iPhone-to-iPhone conversations. RCS will bring multiple improvements to conversations with Android users, and Apple is adopting RCS after years of pushing from Google. Support for higher resolution photos and videos. Support for larger file sizes and file sharing, audio messages, cross-platform emoji reactions, real-time typing indicators, read receipts, ability to send messages over cellular or Wi-Fi. SMS is cellular only. There is no cost to send an RCS message over Wi-Fi. Improved group chats, better security. Google's version of RCS has end-to-end encryption, which Apple does not intend to use. Apple will instead work with the GSMA to develop a more secure form of encryption that is baked natively into RCS. Other messages features. Emoji. Messages with a single emoji now depict the emoji as larger than before. Links. Link cards have been improved with a background that matches the content in the link, plus there is an option to send plain text links or opt for full-size or compact link cards. Equations. Math equations can be solved in any text field, including messages. To get a solution, just type in your equation and then add an equal sign. Apple overhauled the Photos app with an updated design for the library that essentially combines the For You, albums, and library tabs. In iOS 18, there's a main library section paired with different collections that you can swipe through in a carousel, such as memories, people and pets, recent days, trips, albums, and more. You can still get to the same general library view, but you need to swipe down to access the select and search tools that are normally in this section. You can pin your own collections and organize your Photos app to put what's important to you front and center. If you swipe to any collection in the carousel, you can long press to rearrange, remove, or replace it with something that's more important to you. The carousel is designed to show you a new set of photos each day, which Apple says provides a fun surprise. Along with people and pets, the Photos app supports groups for the first time. So if you have a lot of photos with 2 or more people, you can see those organized into a specific group, as well as individual people. Groups are created automatically using on-device learning, but you can also create them. The Photos app includes Apple Intelligence for image editing. You can use the cleanup tool to remove unwanted background objects from your images. The Photos app can automatically highlight what you might want to remove based on the composition of the image, but you can also take control and tap, circle, or paint over what you want to remove. The removal tool understands the main subject of the image and maintains the integrity of the photo while filling in the area where an object was removed. Apple Intelligence can also create custom memory movies of anything that you want to see. You can enter a description like all the photos of my cat last winter set to a rock song, or the desserts I ate during the summer set to a pop song, and Apple Intelligence will find the relevant photos and create a movie that is complete with a narrative arc. Search in the Photos app is improved with natural language support, so you can describe what you're looking for to find it. You can even search for a specific moment in a video clip. Apple has added a number of new utilities albums for finding content within photos like text and receipts. You were previously able to search for some of these options, but having a dedicated utility folder makes them quicker to get to. Apple is overhauling the Mail app with Apple Intelligence. Starting later this year, incoming emails will be organized into categories that include primary for your main time-sensitive emails, promotions for marketing and sales messages, transactions for receipts and order confirmations, and updates for newsletters and other similar emails. Apple will automatically know which emails are important and will give them a priority status, which puts them at the top of your primary inbox. Priority emails will include things like flight check-ins, deadlines, and reminders that are due. Messages from the same sender will be grouped together, so you can see things like all of your receipts from one vendor or all of the marketing emails from a store in the same place. A summary of a long email can be generated with just a tap, so you can check to see if a message is worth your time before you read the entire thing. Smart Reply can be used to identify questions in an email that you were asked with your iPhone, generating relevant responses so you can send a reply with a few taps. Safari's Highlights feature automatically detects relevant information on a web page and highlights it for you as you browse. You might see highlights for directions, hours, and menus on restaurant and store websites. And on other sites, Safari will highlight information about people, music, movies, and TV shows, depending on what you're browsing. Apple also redesigned the Reader mode, adding a table of contents so you can skip to relevant parts of a site and an option that summarizes the page for you. More on what's new in Safari can be found in our iOS 18 Safari guide. Passwords. Apple moved the Passwords section in the Settings app to a dedicated Passwords app in iOS 18, so it's now easier to get to all of your passwords and logins that you've stored. The Passwords app holds your passwords and logins for apps and websites, one-time access codes for two-factor authentication, Wi-Fi passwords, and passkeys. There are also dedicated sections for security alerts, with Apple letting you know about passwords that are too short, have been reused, or have been found in a breach. You can share passwords with friends and family by creating a shared password group, which gives everyone logins to shared streaming services, home devices, and more. Passwords are added to the Passwords app automatically when you use Apple's built-in saving feature on an Apple device, but you can also add logins by tapping on the plus button. The app is organized with a search bar at the top and a series of letters, so you can search for the login you're looking for or tap on a letter of the alphabet to get to that section quickly. Tapping into one of your passwords gives the option to change it, add notes, or set up a verification code. Apple lets you know if your password for a given site is strong enough. If you have autofill turned on, the Passwords app can supply your passwords and logins for apps and websites. Passwords are synced across iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Vision Pro, and even Windows PCs through the iCloud for Windows app. Notes. Notes includes a feature for capturing audio recordings and putting out a live transcript along with a summary of what's included. Live transcriptions can be searched through and combined with other documents, comments, and lists in the Notes app. Math Notes, a built-in feature in the Notes app, allows you to solve equations, so you can do things like add up a monthly budget or figure out a split for a restaurant bill. It can solve all kinds of math problems and generates totals when you add in an equals sign. For improved organization, sections in Notes can be collapsed down, with this feature available when you have your notes organized with headers. You can also now highlight text in Notes, with Apple providing 5 colors to choose from. Phone. In the Phone app, there's now an option to record an incoming call. Both parties are alerted when this option is selected, and your iPhone is able to generate a transcript of the call. Apple has also added support for T9 dialing, allowing you to type a contact's name using the number pad. When you use the letters on the number pad in this way, matching contacts appear above, so you can quickly dial who you're trying to reach without having to use the Contacts app. Tap to Cash is a new feature that makes it easy to make in-person payments with another iPhone user. You can tap 2 iPhones together to send money without having to share your email address or phone number. Money transfers use Apple Cash and are authenticated with Face ID, Touch ID, or a passcode. To use the feature, open up the Wallet app, tap on Tap to Cash, authenticate, and then touch your iPhone to the iPhone of the person you're paying. Tickets for events that are stored in the Wallet app have a new look with an included event guide that provides details on bag policies, food options, merchandise, temperature, opening times, parking info, and more. With Apple Pay, Apple supports viewing and using rewards or point balances for credit and debit cards, so you can do things like apply your credit card points toward an Apple Pay purchase. You can also access financing installment options from your bank if you want to pay for something over time. The Maps app supports topographic maps that are complete with trail networks and hikes, a feature that Apple first brought to the Apple Watch last year. There are maps of trails and hike suggestions for all 63 national parks in the United States. There are thousands of hikes available, with Apple providing an option to save favorites, add notes, and get information like elevation and length. As with regular maps, the topographic hiking maps can be saved for offline use, complete with turn-by-turn guidance. There's support for creating your own hikes and walking routes, with tools for route options like one-way, out and back, or a loop. Creating routes is available for walking directions and is not limited to trails, but there is no option to create a custom driving route. The dedicated Journal app now supports logging your state of mind when you write an entry, and time spent journaling can be recorded as mindful minutes in the Health app. Apple added an Insights view so you can see your writing streaks, a calendar with your entries and stats like places you've visited, number of words you've written, and how often you've journaled during the year. Other new additions include options for sorting and searching past entries and adding a widget for tracking streaks or providing writing prompts. The dedicated Apple TV app supports Insights, a feature that provides more information about music and actors in a TV show or movie. You can get Insights when using the iPhone as a remote for the Apple TV 4K, but it is limited to Apple TV Plus shows. Enhanced Dialogue has been an Apple TV app feature on the Apple TV 4K, but Apple is adding it to the iPhone when playing content through the built-in speakers, AirPods, or other speakers and headphones. Enhanced Dialogue uses machine learning and computational audio to boost vocal clarity over the noise of music and background sounds in a show or movie. The Home app supports new guest features so you can give people temporary access to your smart locks, garage door openers, and alarm systems at select times. Access can repeat, so you can do things like let your house cleaner in weekly at a set time. Hands-free unlocking is available for door locks that support ultra-wideband technology, which means you can unlock your door automatically with an iPhone or Apple Watch as you approach. Apple allows you to select which Home hub you want HomeKit to rely on, which is handy if you have multiple devices that work as a Home hub like HomePods and Apple TVs. Later this year, HomeKit will support robot vacuum cleaners and will provide home electricity use metrics in partnership with electric companies. The Calculator app stores history, so you are able to see all of your prior calculations. In addition to the basic and scientific sections, Apple added a Math Notes section to the Calculator app that ties in with the Notes app for solving equations in a note. You can swap modes by tapping on the calculator icon at the bottom of the Calculator app interface, and this icon also opens up a new convert option. If you type in 10, for example, and then hit the calculator icon and then convert, you can choose from all kinds of conversion options. Currency, area, data, energy, force, length, power, pressure, temperature, time, volume, and weight are just some of the inputs you can choose. Apple refreshed the Calendar app with a new month view that makes it simpler to see the events that you have coming up. Calendar also integrates with the Reminders app for creating, viewing, editing, and completing reminders in the Calendar app without having to open up Reminders. With an iPhone running iOS 18 and a Mac running macOS Sequoia, you can use the new iPhone mirroring feature. iPhone mirroring lets you control your iPhone from your Mac. When you're signed in to the same Apple ID on a Mac and an iPhone, you can use iPhone mirroring to interact with your iPhone from your Mac, even when the iPhone is locked. You can open up and use apps, receive and interact with notifications, and send messages. You can use your Mac keyboard, trackpad, or mouse with your iPhone, which is useful for typing up long emails and other documents on the iPhone. Later this year, iPhone mirroring will allow files, photos, and videos to be dragged and dropped between your iPhone and Mac and vice versa. iOS 18 brings several changes to AirPods Pro 2. Apple's latest earbuds. With head gestures, you can control the AirPods Pro hands-free and without speaking. Just nod your head up and down or shake it to respond to incoming notifications and phone calls. Nodding answers a call, while shaking your head declines it. Voice isolation cuts down on background noise, so your voice sounds clearer to the person you're speaking with on a phone call. The microphones on the AirPods Pro will avoid picking up ambient noise with voice isolation, prioritizing your voice. There's already an adaptive noise control feature that adjusts sound and active noise cancellation in response to changes in the environment. And in iOS 18, there's a customized setting for adjusting it to allow for more or less environmental noise to come through. Privacy features. As mentioned earlier, you can lock and hide apps to require Face ID or Touch ID to access them, but there are also a few other privacy additions in iOS 18. Apple redesigned the privacy and security section of the Settings app, providing at-a-glance information about what you're sharing so you can make adjustments. The privacy and security section shows how many apps have access to various privacy settings like location, camera, microphone, and more. When apps request access to your contacts in iOS 18, you now have the option to share just a few contacts instead of sharing your entire address book. You're able to select exactly which contacts an app is able to access, if any. Apple created a new way for developers to pair Bluetooth accessories to the iPhone that allows for pairing without providing information about nearby Bluetooth devices. Game mode. A dedicated game mode in iOS 18 is designed to minimize background activity so that all of the iPhone's processing power can go toward the game. Game mode is meant to provide consistently high frame rates, even when gaming for hours. Game mode also cuts down on audio latency with AirPods, and it makes game controllers more responsive than before. Apple says that the Bluetooth polling rate with wireless controllers is doubled for better in-game responsiveness. Game developers are now able to take advantage of personalized spatial audio to create more immersive audio for their games. Apple announced several new accessibility features coming to iOS 18 in May, giving us a quick preview of what to expect. One of the standout features is hover typing, which allows users to type without physically touching the screen. There's also a new vehicle motion cues option that's meant to prevent motion sickness when looking at an iPhone or iPad while in a moving vehicle as a passenger. Motion sickness is often caused by a sensory conflict between what a person sees and what they feel, which is an issue in a moving vehicle. Motion vehicle cues use visual elements on the display that indicate real-time changes in motion. Basically, animated dots at the edges of the screen represent changes in vehicle motion, reducing sensory conflict without interfering with the main content. The option can be set to show automatically on the iPhone, and it can be turned on and off in Control Center. Eye tracking allows users to navigate through the iPhone or iPad interface with only their eyes. The feature uses AI and the front-facing camera to determine where a user is looking. It can be used to activate buttons, swipes, and other gestures. When music haptics is enabled, the iPhone's Taptic engine will play taps, textures, and refined vibrations that correspond to the audio of the music. The feature works across millions of songs in the Apple Music catalog, and developers can implement it into their apps. With vocal shortcuts, iPhone and iPad users can assign custom utterances so that Siri is able to launch shortcuts and understand complex tasks. There are a ton of new feature additions that don't fit into specific categories. So, we've listed some of the other useful updates available with the new software. There's an option to format external drives connected to the iPhone. Third-party apps can integrate with the Translate app and offer spatial video recording. Video can be sent to emergency responders with emergency SOS live video support. Siri can be assigned a new name with the Vocal Shortcuts accessibility feature. Plus, there's an option to use Siri to set up triggers for screenshots, changing volume, opening apps, activating Control Center, and more. Apps are able to offer AirPods like simple pairing for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi accessories. SharePlay now supports drawing on someone's screen so you can give instructions or taking control of a screen. This feature is not available in the European Union. The Podcasts app shows chapter segments in a podcast when you scrub through an episode, so it's easier to skip around. In iCloud Drive, there's a new Keep Downloaded option, so you can select files and folders that will remain stored locally on your device as well as in iCloud. You can now select a multicolor clock on the lock screen. When charging, the battery section of the Settings app lets you know if you're using a slow charger. When When you press a button on the iPhone in iOS 18, there's a pop-out bezel animation. There are two new background sound options, night and fire. iOS 18 will run on all iPhones that are able to run iOS 17, which includes the iPhone XR, iPhone XS, iPhone C second generation, and newer. All iPhone 15 models, all iPhone 14 models, all iPhone 13 models, all iPhone 12 models, all iPhone 11 models, iPhone XS and XS Max, iPhone XR, and iPhone SE second and third generation. Though iOS 18 will be compatible with many older iPhones, on-device AI capabilities require an iPhone 15 Pro or later. iOS 18 is currently available to developers and public beta testers. Apple will release the software in the fall after several months of beta testing.